Hello, fellow Pokemon PvP enthusiasts. I hope you guys enjoyed that short little intro because I wanted to show how excited I am to make this video. But anyways, today I'm gonna be here to test out the team that I made in my last video called Can You Make a PvP Team in Kanto? And you should definitely go check it out if you haven't done so already. So I think the best way to really tell how useful this team is by doing 10 ranked battles and recording the wins and losses. And I will also go over what works well and what doesn't with this team. I also forgot to mention that I won't be using any held items on any of my Pokemon to really make this a challenge. But enough talking and let's get right into the battles. This first battle here did not really go as planned, but I still got pretty close, so I'll show you guys what happened. So right off the bat, I use Sleep Powder to put anything to sleep that Rotom Wash switches into or if it stays. But it ended up switching into Chandelure, and I switched to Azumarill and that ended up dying. I then tried to revenge kill it with Gengar, but he switched to Mandibuzz. So I switched into the Magnezone against the Mandibuzz because I did not want the Mandibuzz to kill my Gengar with like a knockoff. Now I need my Gengar alive to really kill the Garchomp or the Azumarill. Now when he switched into Garchomp, I was gonna switch into my Azumarill, but I knew it would have been a bad trade because his Earthquake would deal more damage to my Azumarill than my Play Rough if he switches into a Ferrothorn. So basically I want my Azumarill to stay as healthy as possible. But after a bunch of bad predictions, I was able to use Sludge Bomb and poison the Chandelure, which put me in a good spot. So I decided to stall out the poison damage by switching in and out of Quagsire and Vileplume, and I eventually switched into Magnezone because it was too low HP, so I let it die. I then switched into a Vileplume against a Garchomp, and the Garchomp killed my Vileplume. Gengar comes in to Destiny Bond the Garchomp, but now that I think about it, I should have Icy Winded instead. I then bring out my Pidgeot, he brings out his Ferrothorn, and I finish it off with a Heat Wave. So the next problem I had were the Stealth Rocks, so I used Defog on Pidgeot to get rid of it. And finally I switched into my last Pokemon, Quagsire. Now I thought I had a chance at first, but I realized that the Mandibuzz had Toxic, and I couldn't do anything against it, so I lost. Now the second battle here was pretty straightforward, so I'm gonna go through it pretty fast. It started off with a 1v1 between Vileplume and Tentacruel, and Tentacruel won. Next up I bring out the Magnezone and revenge kill the Tentacruel. I then switched into Gengar and he switched into Conkeldurr, and I just used D-Bomb because I wanted to get rid of it. He then switches into Gliscor and uses Earthquake to kill my Magnezone. So I switch into my Quagsire knowing that there's nothing that a Gliscor can do to it. But he switched out to a Superior, so I then switched back to Pidgeot, which was able to kill off the Superior with a single Heat Wave. The Togekiss then finished off my Pidgeot. So I then switched to Azumarill, which got a very lucky critical hit on the Togekiss. But the Gliscor then finished off my Azumarill. However, Quagsire was able to set up with Curse, and there was nothing the opponent could do, so he forfeited. And the next three battles I really don't want to talk about, but the first one, I just got swept by Superior. And the second one, I got destroyed by a Conkeldurr and a Latios. And even in the third one, I got flushed by a Rain Team. But in the sixth battle, I ended up versing a rain team. Now, there was a lot of switching and gambling, but eventually, I was able to pull through, and my opponent forfeited. So right now, we're looking at a 2 out of 6 win rate. But then I versed this guy, and looking at his team, I'm kinda feeling screwed here. But I started off using Sleep Powder, and I ended up putting the Heatran to sleep. I then switched into Magnezone, and he switched into Skarmory, which meant that I was able to get a free kill on Skarmory, and gave me a good head start. And after many turns of switching in and out of Pokemon, we got to a point where I was low on health on Gengar against a Tangrowth. So I just decided to D-Bond to take down Tangrowth with me, but he switched into Tyranitar and Gengar ended up dying to the Sandstorm instead. So after even more switching in and out, I ended up losing my Magnezone to Alakazam with Hidden Power Fire. My Pidgeot also took the same fate and died from the Alakazam as well. So at this point, I've had enough, and I decided to just Belly Drum with a Azumarill. And I'm glad I made that call because I was able to one-shot Tangrowth with a Play Rough. He then switched back to Alakazam, so I just used Aqua Jet, thinking it would kill him, but it had a Focus Sash and killed me instead. I then revenge killed the Alakazam with my Quagsire, but that too died right after from Tyranitar. I was finally left with Vileplume, but it died helplessly against a Heatran and ended up losing the battle. So at this point, I was really starting to wonder, was it really worth all the hunting, all the catching, and all the training I've done to achieve these Pokemon, just to lose all these battles like this? Am I really gonna let someone beat me, just because they have a rarer Pokemon than me? No. I queued up right away for a ranked battle and got matched with this guy. And when I saw his team, I'm not gonna lie, I felt a little intimidated, but it's too late to back out now, so here goes nothing. We start off the battle with my Vileplume up against an Alakazam, and there's no way my Vileplume would survive any Psychic type move from Alakazam, so I switch to Magnezone, but the Alakazam kills me with Hidden Power Fire. I then switch in with Azumarill to see if I could kill it with an Aqua Jet, but he switches into Amoonguss. So I do the same and switch into Vileplume. I then use Sludge Bomb, which did a good chunk of damage when he switched to Volcarona, so I was able to finish it off with Aqua Jet on Azumarill. He then sent out Rotom, so I switched to Quagsire to be immune to Volt Switch. I then switched out again to Vileplume to see if he would switch out of Rotom, but it ended up using Will-O-Wisp on my Vileplume, which is pretty good. Next round, I used Sleep Powder to see if I could put anything Rotom switches into sleep. And he ended up switching to Scizor, and I was able to put it to sleep. Now I was gonna switch into Pidgeot to kill the Scizor with Heat Wave, but I decided not to because he could have switched out, which would have gave away that my Pidgeot had Heat Wave, so I decided to go with Quagsire with Curse. But he switched back to Amoonguss, so we were back at square one. And after a lot of switching back and forth, we ended up in a situation where we both switched in Pidgeot and Scizor at the same time. This was the situation I wanted. To make it seem like switching in Pidgeot and Scizor was a pure coincidence, so he wouldn't expect the Heat Wave, and the Scizor ends up going down. After a couple rounds later, the Vileplume was able to finish off Alakazam with Giga Drain, although I got pretty lucky, because Alakazam didn't wake up. My opponent then switched into Conkeldurr, but I had a feeling Gengar would survive one hit as long as he didn't use knockoff, so I switched into Gengar and he does survive, which was perfect because Gengar could use Destiny Bond and take down Conkeldurr. My opponent was then left with Rotom, which my Vileplume ended up taking care of, and the Amoonguss, which took the same fate from Vileplume. I only ended up losing 2 Pokemon in that battle, which was a huge progress compared to last time, thus giving us a 3rd win in the book. And yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video. But you may be asking, where's the last 2 battles? Didn't you say you were gonna do 10 ranked battles? The answer to that is yes, I did do 10 battles. However, the last 2 were not really interesting, so I'll just tell you guys what happened. In the 9th battle, I was able to sweep my opponent with my entire team. But in the 10th battle, I got swept by a Starmie. Anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions, tell me in the comment section below. Or if you want to, you can also stop by my Twitch streams and say hi. Links are in the description below. And bye.